Hello everybody, welcome to the Metal Mill 52 workshop. Glad to have you back again. Welcome again to the new subscribers. Been about a week since I did an update. So today's President's Day. It's a rainy day outside, but at least it's daylight, so that'll make for some good light for filing and handwork, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But let me show you what I've been working on. This, of course, is the Universal Pillar Tool. I've been working on the drill head for it, and I spent the last week making the sleeves. These are spindle sleeves that fit inside each other. There's a 3/8 inch bore, and the piece of 3/8 inch drill rod there that you see will become eventually the drill spindle. So there's brass or bronze oilite bushings that are pressed in place in the inner and outer spindle. Let me show you how this kind of goes. Well, before I show you that, let me show you a diagram that is a little confusing to look at and picture it, so I thought I'd show you a piece from the book. Here's the drill head. Excuse me. This is the spindles are right here. They're a little tough to make out, but the little crosshatch part, that's the oilite bushings, and there's an oilite bushing on the outside. So you see I have yet to make the pulley. What drives this thing, there's a pulley, and then there's a drive plate that has a little tang that sticks into the spindle itself, and it turns it around. So the pulley turns, the spindle stays stationary. When the pulley turns, it turns this drive plate, which is bolted through the top of it, and that drives the spindle. This is a depth stop. This thing is a depth stop. Here is the drill lever basically, and the post for it to mount on. And these are the parts I've been making recently. This is a little section here that has a bearing in it. It's kind of a cool design. I'll show you that in a second as well. So let me show you how the spindles go together now that you have an idea. These are the ones I had to remake, so I've made them twice. But I made them out of the steel that I got from Russ. It's basically, I think it may be 1045 steel. I was just using the wrong carbide insert to make these, so that was my difficulty. But I got them very nice, very good fit. There's no slop in it whatsoever, and that goes in here, so you can see where that bushing is, the oilite bushing around there. That's where the actual pulley will be. I have yet to figure out exactly what I'm going to use for a drive motor. I'm kind of thinking about something like a Shoreline motor instead of the complicated arrangement that they used originally. So anyway, that's the spindle, and that, as I showed it on top of it, what will drive the spindle up and down, or the drill drive shaft itself, is the spindle nut will drive it around. What will make it go up and down is this clever design here. It's kind of a gimbal assembly, and again, I had to remake this twice, but there's a bearing that goes inside here, and I've epoxied it inside the bearing inside the little housing, and the housing will sit on the drive shaft as well, and it'll have a screw that bolts it to the top basically, so that when this moves up and down, it will move the drive shaft up and down, or the drill spindle shaft up and down. Then to make that happen, you have, this is the feed support lever. That's not the correct name for it. It's part number 11. But this weekend I've just been making these parts. If you want to see some still photographs, you can check out my Instagram page. You can see I made this out of a piece of rough 1/2 inch bar stock, just regular hot rolled steel. What I'm going to do, I've obviously turned it. This is 3/8 of an inch. I made it a little fatter just for aesthetics here near the top. This is a 1/4 inch diameter here, and then this is 1/4 thread, and I have yet to finish filing here. This is a 1/4 inch slot that needs to get filed out, and it's a real tight squeeze right now, or snug fit I should say, on this part here. I'll talk about in just a minute. But so this part goes right here, and it gets bolted in. There we go. So that'll sit right there, and then the lever lever, lever, whatever you want to call it, that goes right here, and that will tilt up and down. And this part right here, there's little gimbal screws that I'll talk about later. I'll show them. Basically, either Loctite or silver solder them into the sides of this thing, and they stay stationary, and the little screws go in there, and they'll pull up and down, but they allow the movement needed. So this thing, I'm kind of proud of how it's come out. It started life as a piece of this 3/8 inch thick hot rolled steel scrap. I don't even remember exactly where I got this. I think maybe Russ gave me this as well. But I made a lot of stuff out of it. You can see I cut some round part of it out of it some point in the past. But it's very handy to have. I was very grateful to find it. So I cut that out. You can see the same material because the finish is still rough on the top. But what I wanted to do, I'll be doing today. I don't know if you can make that out. Let me pull this over. There you go. You see the lines that are scratched in there, or scribed in, that describe the exact 1/4 inch thickness of this tail shaft here. I'll be filing. I filed some last night, and I'll file some again tomorrow. as soon as I get done with this video. I got this one filed down pretty smooth and nice, and pretty close to that line. There's still a little ways to go yet, so plenty of material left to get that down to a 1/4 inch. Basically, what I've been doing is I bandsawed this out, as you can see, and I'll mark it with Sharpie marker, and then file some, remove the high spots, and then check the dimension, check where I'm at on the line, and just keep filing down to try to get it down to the line. It's way easier to do that in the daytime than it is at night. Excuse me. So the process for this, let me describe that a little bit, because the book doesn't really talk much about it. I cut out, this actually piece came right out of that chunk right there. Cut that out, and then I milled it to the perfect rectangle size, basically 1 3/8 inches by about 4 1/4, if I remember correctly. And then while it was still a perfect rectangle, then in the mill, I drilled the holes down and drilled and tapped the front part there, which is way easier said than done. And I used stubby drills too to make sure it made it a lot easier. And then once the drilling was from the side and the edge there, then I laid it down in my mill vise and drilled out and bored this out. I very carefully bored it out with a boring head to get it the exact required inside diameter, so that this will all fit perfectly. So as you can see, let me set that in there. There'll be little screws that go in and screw into those there'll be bushings inserted, basically either Loctite or silver soldered into those holes in the side, and then specially made screws that I'll have to make that will go into the center part of this. So that's what that's all about. And so I just wanted to show this in the daytime, because next time I show this, it'll be a lot prettier. This is what eventually, hopefully, it'll look like. These are the pictures from the book. Here's that part that I made, the support shaft. Pull that out, show you what mine looks like. And then this, and I just laid out this part here. This is part of the support for the spring. There's a spring that holds this all together, and there right here, and you see that in the diagram. So this part, I haven't made that yet. I'll probably work on that a little bit today too, at least cut out the rectangle. And so I just laid that out on 1/4 inch steel. I just use a Sharpie marker, and then I measure it with calipers and a square and a carbide scribe. So anyway, that's my little update for the pillar tool. It's going to be quite some time before this is done. I imagine that as simple as some of these parts look, making the pulley and the drive plate and all that's going to be some work. So again, it's just a fun project, and I'm really anxious to finish it, but I don't want to rush. Let me show you one more thing before sign off here. I made a little jig. When I epoxied this bearing in, I was concerned that I wanted it to be centered. The book either talks about Loctiting it in or making it so it was a press fit. I made the hole a little larger so it wouldn't be a press fit. And I thought about Loctiting, but I thought, epoxy would be probably a better long-term solution, and there was a little bit greater space than you use perhaps for green Loctite, and I was afraid the green Loctite would ooze around and get all over the bearing. Didn't want to mess with that, so I carefully cleaned out the cavity there with a rag and some acetone, and then I mixed up some JB Weld, and I used this little jig I made. The jig sits down in the top of, let me show you here. It sat down in the top there, and the centered. It has a 1/4 inch bore in the center of it, which is the same as the bore in the center of the bearing. So the jig centered the bolt inside the housing, if you understand that. And so I just, when I put the epoxy together, cleared it all off, wiped off any excess, and then gently put this together to hold it centered while the epoxy was drying. So hopefully that makes sense. A little spiff, but fun things today. Filing this down to a 1/4 inch thickness on the tail. One thing I did forget to do, I forgot to mention this. I should have, while it was still a big rectangle, I should have gone ahead and milled. There's a 3/36 2" slot that gets milled in the center there. This is right where the spring goes, and I should have done that while I had this all a big rectangle. It would have been a heck of a lot easier, but as it stands, my plan is now I'm just going to file this down to get it exactly a 1/4 inch in parallel. Then I can put it back in the Bridgeport vise and mill the little slot, and it should be fine. So, and then it's just a matter of filing, sanding, and getting the outside to look just fine. I mean, it would function just like it needs to, like this, but it would look awful primitive. So I'll be filing and sanding and smoothing it down so it has a pretty finished shape like that. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this is interesting to you. If you'd like to see the still photographs, I will publish them on my Metal Mill 52 Instagram page. I take the still photographs while I'm working on the things at the various stages, and I put them on Instagram so people can see, in case they want to see what it looks like while I'm working on it. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Hope you have a great day, and I will keep you updated soon. Bye. Hey everybody, welcome to the Metal Mill 52 shop. This is a little follow-up video. It's still President's Day. I've been out here a number of hours getting ready to head in. Just thought I'd show, this is the feed lever ring and post. I made the little spring holder that I talked about before. Got that fabricated today. I filed the heck out of this thing. It's still not done. I need to sand it and polish it a little bit more, but it came out looking good. I also used some 1/4 inch hex steel stock I had, and I made a little pin for this, and I threaded the end of it 632 there. So pretty happy with the progress today. Got those things done. Very excited about moving the project forward a little bit. The George Thomas pillar tool, and I will keep you posted. Thanks for watching, everybody.